call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Fortunately, our district community and the Cesar Chavez Language Academy had some very sad news this weekend, and we're going to start our meeting today with a moment of silence for student Axel Sanchez Medina and his father Omar Sanchez Hernandez. So if you'll join me for a moment. Okay, thank you. Next, we have reserved, and this will be our last week doing this, but reserved a time for public comment for anyone who wants to discuss how they've been affected by the fires. We don't have any blue cards up here right now, but I'll ask now if there's anybody who does. Okay, so that brings us to C3, report of actions taken in closed session. There were none. C4, items considered in closed session for action in open session. I need a motion on expulsion number 1718-06.
Move the recommendation to panel.
Second.
Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. And now case number 1718-04.
Move the acceptance of the stipulation.
Second.
Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. And then on the following readmissions, case 1617-17.
Move approval of the readmissions.
Second.
Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Okay. That's fine.
Okay, we have,
President Close?
aye. Sorry, got ahead of you. We have four more. I'm going to call them as a group and see if we can get a motion for a group. So those are 1617-23,
Move approval.
1617-30,
Thank you.
1617-50, and 1516-26. Can I have a motion on that group?
Good. Move approval of all four.
Second.
Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Pugh. Roll call vote.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay. C5, statements of abstention. Do we have any tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to adjustments to the agenda. I know Director Fong wanted to pull E9. Are there any others? Okay. Directors Fong and Director Christoph would both like to pull E9, so we'll do that. C7, board member request for information. Director Christoph.
Yes, I'm curious as to what the status and how our new community school is doing. I'm hoping maybe we will get a report on that in the near future. And then secondly, I am very curious to see if there's any real definitive research done on the efficacy of community schools. I think that would be very helpful for me to understand a little more before we move on with that. I'm hearing the need is there for more than just what we have. Thank you.
And just for
Clarification, Director Christoph, that would be the one housed at Cook Middle School? Okay, thank you.
Okay, C8, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting held November 15th, 2017.
Move approval?
Second.
Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Christoph. Roll call vote, please.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
And C9, approval of the minutes of the special closed session meetings held December 6th and December 13th, 2017.
I'll move approval of the minutes of December 6th.
I'll move approval of the others. 13.
We got to do one.
We'll have to do one at a time. So do I have a second on December 6th?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, and Director Christoph, would you like to move approval of December 13th?
No. Yeah. So moved, please.
Second.
Moved by Director Christoph, second by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Carl?
Abstain.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, and that brings us to C10, the Student of the Month Awards for December 2017, which I suspect you're all here for, and I am the lucky director that gets to do those this month. Batteries. Okay, so we're going to start with the Luther Burbank Elementary School Student of the Month, which is Emily Hernandez. Emily, do you want to come down here? Burbank's teachers and staff are proud to select Emily Hernandez to be honored as Student of the Month, not just because of her outstanding academic performance, but because of the positive effect and lasting impression she has on others and the learning environment around her. Emily has been attending Burbank Elementary School since Head Start Preschool. She is a Burbank Bengal through and through. She has consistently wowed her teachers with her strong work ethic, her dedication to learning, and the compassionate attitude she shows to her friends and classmates. Every year, she has been a top student in all of her subjects, including and especially the language arts. Mr. House, her 6th grade teacher, says, Emily's writing is amazing, superbly insightful, and well thought out. She makes teaching writing fun. He puts that in bold, too. He really means it. And Ms. Bell, her 4th grade teacher, says, Emily is such a perfect student. She always tries her best. Her 5th grade teacher, Mr. Cottle, says, her eyeballs are always lit up with interest in whatever is being taught. She has the rare ability to be fully engaged from the time she arrives in the classroom until dismissal. Emily says that her favorite life skill is curiosity. This skill should come in handy when she wants to be a doctor or work in the medical science field when she's older. When asked who inspires her, she says her parents, who always tell her to work hard and take her education seriously, which she says she knows is the right thing to do and very important to her. Emily is inspired also by her older brother, Eduardo, who encourages her to do well in school, in soccer, and to become the best grown-up version of herself. She says her teacher, Mr. House, inspires her to be a better person, to improve every day in her work, and to keep building her character. Emily is certainly taking control of her academics and direction in life. She says her favorite quote from her journal is, "If you don't like where you're at, move. You're not a tree." She says, we can all learn from that. She says this quote reminded her of how she used to be not very good at playing soccer and was doubting her ability to make the Burbank soccer team. But she trained every day, improved, and eventually made the team. She didn't like where her ability was, so she changed it. She's now been on the team for the past 2 years. Along with soccer, Emily always enjoys painting, drawing, decorating, and organizing things. She loves to listen to music and loves to spend time with friends and family. I'm sure all of those friends and family are proud of her today. Her positive attitude, dedication to doing her best, and of course that wonderful smile will continue to help her find success. Sorry. Congratulations, Emily. Our next student is from the Cesar Chavez Language Academy. It's Ansuya Shestra. Ansuya is one of CCLA's first-generation students. She and her brother were enrolled in TK during the 2013-2014 school year. Ansuya's parents, who are Nepalese and speak no Spanish, questioned if raising their children trilingual would be too difficult. There was question as to whether or not they would be able to adequately support their son and daughter in a language unknown to them. Ansuya has far surpassed any of our expectations for an academically exceptional student who is well-versed in 3 languages. Her grades are exceptional in all subject areas. She participates in class, engages in academically steep conversations with her peers, completes all of her assignments, and has perfect attendance. She enrolled in Girls on the Run this year, completing her first 5K. During our school-wide Wednesday mile runs, she outruns the rest of the class. Ansuya is an exemplary student who works hard and diligently. She puts forth tremendous effort and is extremely responsible. Ansuya demonstrates such character and hard work that will lead her to do great things. She is humble and quiet about her achievements and potential, not seeking attention for herself. It gives us great pleasure to honor Ansuya Shrestha for Student of the Month, Santa Rosa City Schools. Okay, and next is Sienna, is it Menconi or Menconi? Sienna Menconi. Come on down. Sienna Menconi is a sweet and intelligent 9-year-old girl. She is high-achieving, hardworking, and an avid learner. But it's her dedication to her classroom community that distinguishes her. It feels like she finishes her work so fast so she can help other students with their work. She is first to raise her hand, but not competitive. She is intelligent, yet humble. She asks me every period, every recess, if she can help in any way, and often I say yes. This is your teacher? Yes. During recess, she enjoys putting posters on walls, cleaning up horrible messes after science experiments, and organizing manipulatives, etc. She even stays after school to help tutor students who are behind in math. Many times, students understand her explanations better than the one from the teacher. The teacher saw many shiny eyes say, "Sienna explained it to me, and now I understand." The good news is she wants to be a teacher when she grows up. The bad news, she will leave our school at the end of December to attend a school closer to her home in Sebastopol. Her contributions to grade 3D and the entire school will be missed. Santa Rosa French American Charter School wants to honor her dedication of being a model student, always positive, helpful, humble, and hardworking. But our school especially wants to honor her efforts to develop those skills in others. We wish her well in her new school. She'll be gone but not forgotten. Congratulations on being Student of the Month for Santa Rosa City Schools from the Santa Rosa French American Charter School. Okay, and last but not least, Nayeli Garcia from Ridgeway High School. Nayeli Garcia came to Ridgeway High School from Montgomery High School, where she had been struggling with attendance and credits. When Nayeli began at Ridgeway in February 2017, she decided to make the most of her opportunity at Ridgeway and try to make as many credits as possible up so she could graduate early. She had been at 3 previous schools and didn't find success. She felt sad at the other sites and was not motivated to go to school. But it's been almost a year, and Nayeli has excelled at Ridgeway High. She says that we treat each other like family at Ridgeway High School, and that has motivated her to attend school on a daily basis. Nayeli also appreciates the relationships she has made at Ridgeway High School and counts them as a key component of her academic success. Nayeli has been a positive role model at Ridgeway High School, and her teachers have stated the following about her. It has been an honor to work with her in earning her diploma. We appreciate her honest, pleasant, and helpful nature. She even volunteers to clean classrooms. She is extroverted, friendly, and respectful of students and teachers. She displays a sense of confidence and certainty. I see her as a leader, someone who can inspire others to move forward. She does not back off from whatever she wants to do. Nayeli has been an active participant in school activities. She is Associate Student Body Secretary and is a karaoke star in music club. She created a song for the senior class and performed at last year's graduation ceremony. Principal Albaveras states, Nayeli epitomizes what a Blue Jay is all about: caring, driven, motivated, and respectful. It is not unusual to have Nayeli introduce herself to you with a handshake and a smile. Nayeli would like to thank her sister and mother for always pushing her to do her best. She also would like to thank the whole staff at Ridgeway High School for believing and having patience with her and at all Ridgeway High School students. In closing, the Ridgeway High School staff voted unanimously to have Nayeli represent our school as Student of the Month. She has left a positive mark in our Ridgeway community and Blue Jay Nation, and we have no doubt that Nayeli will reach all of her goals. It's with great pleasure and honor to present Nayeli Garcia as the Santa Rosa City Schools Student of the Month for Ridgeway High School. Okay, back to the less exciting business, the regular business. No, these are good. Parent organization updates. So we will start with Luther Burbank Elementary School.
Okay, good evening, board members and everyone in this room. As a parent club, we have done a number of great things to support our school this year. We continue to fundraise for projects and to support the classrooms. We have donated money for prizes for the Nifty Kid assemblies and prizes for the annual Fall Festival. The Fall Festival on November 16th was a really fun night with music, food, games, and prizes. We held it in the multi-purpose room this year because of the cold weather, and teachers and parents also served food and beverages. We were able to raise more than $1,900 for the Undocu Fund for Fire Relief in Sonoma County. We would like to thank all who donated prizes for the raffle. We had planned a fall beautification day in October, but the fire disaster caused this to be postponed. We are currently helping with the Winter Holiday Concert, which will be tomorrow night, in the multi-purpose room. We will be serving pizza, tacos, and food and drinks. It's a musical evening with songs, and our bands will be playing to entertain all our families before the holiday break.
Buenas noches. Como Club de Padres hemos hecho varias cosas para apoyar a nuestra escuela este año. Continuamente recaudamos fondos para proyectos y para apoyar a los salones. Hemos donado dinero para premios para la Asamblea de Neptiki y premios para el Festival de Anual del Otoño. El Festival de Otoño, el 16 de noviembre, fue una noche realmente divertida con música, comida, juegos y premios. Lo celebramos en la cafetería de la escuela este año debido al clima y el frío. Y los maestros y los padres proporcionaron una variedad de juegos para nuestros estudiantes. Compartieron para ganar premios fantásticos. Los padres también sirvieron comida y bebidas. Pudimos recaudar $1,913 para fondos para ayuda de las personas de los incendios en el condado de Sonoma. Nos gustaría agradecer a todos los que donaron premios para la rifa, comida y bebida y su tiempo para ayuda de este evento. Habíamos planeado un día de embellecimiento de otoño en octubre, pero por el desastre pospusimos la fecha. Actualmente estamos ayudando con el concierto de vacaciones de invierno, que será mañana por la noche en la sala de multiusos. Serviremos pozole, pizza y otros alimentos y bebidas. Es una noche musical con canciones con nuestras bandas, tocarán los niños para entretener a todas nuestras familias antes de las vacaciones del invierno.
Thank you very much for your report. Next, we will go to the San Rosa French American Charter School. She leaves. I guess there's no report, so we will go to Cesar Chavez Language Academy.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Laura Patricia Ramírez y soy representante del comité del BAP de la Escuela César Chávez. Es un placer para nosotros estar aquí e informarles los logros que hemos hecho con el presupuesto que la escuela ha tenido.
We're going to translate for Pati Ramirez. She's our bilingual advisory board president, similar to Site Council, and she's just going to talk about some of the things that they've approved this year in relation to the LCAP.
Como ustedes saben, somos una escuela nueva, somos una escuela que tiene muchísimas necesidades, pero hemos logrado mucho basado al presupuesto que tenemos, sobre todo en compra de tecnología, en compra de libros para formar nuestra biblioteca de la escuela.
So she said, as you know, we're a new school, so we have a lot of needs. And so some of the things that they've been able to approve as part of the BAB committee has been purchase of more technology, Chromebook carts and iPads, and then also purchasing more books for our new library.
Y siguiendo con el tema de los libros, también hemos comprado diferentes temas para que los niños puedan tener libros para llevar a casa y seguir con la lectura en casa. También se ha hecho la contratación de nuevo personal para ayudar especialmente a los niños en el aula de clases.
So she said that they've helped the library to purchase a bigger variety of books and to make sure that students have enough books to take home, to read at home. And also we've been able to hire new personnel, especially instructional assistants, to work with students in the classrooms and also in a reading intervention program.
Tenemos mucho por trabajar por nuestra escuela, tenemos muchas necesidades, pero hemos logrado muchas cosas buenas y esperemos que el presupuesto sea beneficioso para el ciclo escolar que viene.
So she said, as she mentioned before, our school has a lot of needs, and they've been able to accomplish a lot on this BAB committee approving new things to help our school, but also she looks forward to receiving our new funds in the next school year so that their committee can continue to support our students.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Gunderson. I'm here to speak with you about the CCLA Foundation. And I'll admit I did not expect to speak, but something happened with whoever was coming. This year, as with most sites, has been a difficult year, but a year of great growth. The foundation always starts the year with a beautification day. So right before school started, there was a beautification day. And then in the fall, the kickoff fundraiser was a Zumbathon. Super fun. We have to make sure we invite you next year. Kids get out and Zumba for, an hour and a half, taking in pledges for that. And we sold some food as well, and that was raised quite a bit of money. I believe, was it November, the Taco Tuesday? Yeah, we had scheduled a new event this year, Taco Tuesdays, happen maybe 3 times a year this year. Our first was in November. Had tacos donated by, who were they? La Fondita, and played bingo with prizes and raffles. Another very successful event. You want to keep going? Yes. And I'm going to turn it over to Art because he's the one who was prepared this evening.
I don't know what was shared. I'm glad to be here. Zumbathon Taco Tuesday. I just got done coaching basketball for the Y. Good to see all y'all. So yes, I'm thrilled about what's going on at CCLA. Not just because we have phenomenal leadership with Rebecca, trying to get on her good side, but all the teachers, amazing. My wife's a 3rd grade teacher there. I think she's the cutest one. And just really love the staff. I love the atmosphere on campus. It's neat to interact with the parents. Really enjoying serving there. I'm excited about that. I volunteered a year into being on campus there, ever since its conception. And from there, kind of the foundation, CCLA Foundation was established. So I just showed up to the meetings, was a voice. And several years later now, I'm co-president of the foundation, which I'm glad to serve in that capacity as well. This year we're getting more and more organized and clear with our mission and vision, which is really exciting. Just had a retreat. The leadership of the foundation had a retreat, and we established that, and they're excited to present that to the rest of the foundation this coming January. So that's exciting. We are getting organized. Like the first several years of the foundation, how much time do I have? I'm sorry.
You're killing it right now, so.
Oh, sorry. So really excited. 2 minutes? Okay.
Take another minute.
Okay, thank you so much. So anyways, at first, we really didn't know what we were doing as a foundation. We just really loved the school and tried to raise money so we could do more things. And now we've had some annual traditional serving, like the Zumbathon. So far, we've raised $17,000 this year, which is pretty cool, for 56% of the students being free and reduced lunch, and having only 300 students. And so we're pretty excited about that and looking forward to doubling that next year. We do have what we started doing, Taco Tuesdays, which you guys are invited to do, be a part of those. Awesome tacos, which I saw some food over there. That looks good. And then outside of that, we're really excited for what's to come. We're excited to hear from the district in January on a plan for expansion, and just really looking forward to that. It's been really a positive experience with the foundation and the parents. There's been no negativity. It's been just like, hey, we're excited about what's going on, and this year's been an amazing experience. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your report. Okay, so we'll move to C12, public comment on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that are not on the agenda. I have only one blue card right now. It is from Kareem Paulson.
Sure. My name's Kareem Polson, and I'm submitting the charter for Pivot Charter School. And I have a USB and binders. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we'll take just about a 5-minute break so that anyone who wants to take off may, and if you want to grab some food on your way out, then help yourself. come back to order and start with the Board President End of the Year Report, C13, which is me again. Ricket went away. This is actually my first PowerPoint presentation ever. So just in case there, yes, we don't do that a lot in my line of work. Or someone else does it. So usually the outgoing board president presents a long speech about the decisions that the board has made regarding the ongoing operations of the district, facilities, programs that impact teaching and learning, always the very most important work. But I'm going to leave the usual stuff to Diane and her regular reports because this year was a little bit different. This year was different because we had 3 new board members at once, something that no one can remember for at least 27 years. Directors Anderson, Fong, and Sheffield all hit the ground running, facing major budget decisions within the first couple months of their tenure. And I want to thank them for how hard they worked to get up to speed very quickly, for showing great dedication to the district and to students always, and for, most importantly, contributing to a new and improved collegial and solution-oriented culture on our board. So really, thank you for that. And then this year was different because we were, for a number of reasons, acutely aware that our district does not exist in isolation, but rather is a vital part of our local community, part of a larger public education system, and that as a public school, our charge is not just to prepare students for college, but to create citizens. My tenure as board president began just a few weeks after the country elected a president who made a number of troubling campaign statements, which included troubling statements about public school funding, about immigrants, about people of color, and transgender individuals. In defense of our public school district's values and our students, the board was vocal in its opposition to these positions. The board, in partnership with SRTA, sent a strong message opposing the appointment of Betsy DeVos.
Everybody in this room is here for our students, every single one of our students. And the idea of somebody being in charge who isn't interested in helping every single one of our students is scary.
She would never get hired as a superintendent in this district. And why would we want to hire her as the superintendent of the United States for all intents and purposes? Operationally, this is just not the right choice.
So this is the first time the board has taken a public stance on such a national political position. We also passed a resolution opposing H.R. 610, a House of Representatives bill that would have, among other things, abolished the entire Department of Education, directed public funds to pay for private schools, and repealed all nutrition standards that govern our students' breakfast and lunch programs. The board acted quickly to assure all of our students and families that they were respected and safe on our campuses by becoming one of the first districts in the state to declare itself a safe haven school district, something I am especially proud of. In response to the new presidential administration's removal of federal protection for transgender students, the district passed a resolution recognizing the rights of transgender students to use their bathroom of choice. And while we are lucky to live in a state that provides these protections, already the board wanted to send a public, unequivocal message to our transgender students in support of them. I am so grateful to be part of a board in a school district that works hard to ensure that all students feel welcome, valued, and protected. These values are, of course, nothing new to our district. Our district was, in fact, just recently recognized by CSBA with a Golden Bell Award for our Equity and Social Justice Initiative. Locally, or here in our ward, our 2 senior board members, Directors Carl and Pugh, were each honored for their work on the board and the greater community. Director Carl earned a Sonoma County Bar Association Career Distinction Award, which recognized him both for his work as an attorney and also for his dedicated service to local public education. Director Pugh was elected as the next president of the National School Board Association, an accomplishment well-deserved after years of service to public education and through this board, his job at SRJC, his positions with the California and National School Board Associations. I am proud to congratulate you both and count you both as colleagues and friends, so congratulations. Director Kristoff finished his first year of service as a delegate to the CSBA Assembly, and we thank him for using that position to advocate strongly for our district and for public education funding generally. So then, on a windy Sunday in October when fires ravaged our county, this district stepped up as a vital community partner, offering 2 of our school sites as full evacuation sites, using our bus service to evacuate the elderly and medically fragile, and offering our schools, or 2 of our schools, for critical town hall meetings, something that we'll continue to do. Our community will be in the recovery process for many years, and the school systems will be a critical stabilizing force. I wanted to share one story that from CSBA. When Diane and I presented there, we were approached by a woman who's on the school board in Laguna Hills, who said that she was on the board when the Laguna Hills fire hit in 1993 and lost her home. And she told us, gave us some encouraging words, but also told us that it was really critical that we be stable and strong and create a sense of normalcy, and that we were the most stabilizing force in the community. So I want to reiterate my thanks and appreciation to the staff for their hard work during this trying time, and specifically to Directors Anderson and Carl for being such committed board members despite having each lost their homes in this tragedy. So finally, as the superintendent likes to do, I want to end with students. We appreciate all students who come speak to us, and I would really encourage more of them to share their thoughts and feelings with us. I was particularly impressed by 3 young ladies from Santa Rosa Middle School who came to talk to us about the dress code. Here's a clip of 2 of them.
Does a girl's education mean less than a boy's distraction-free learning environment? The only unsafe thing about the dress code is that it teaches guys that girls are these sexual objects that will change for them. It is also telling girls that our arms, legs, and stomachs should be hidden. How can we love ourselves as people if our school tells us we are less than human every day? When the school excuses sexualization of young girls, there is no way to teach the lesson of universal respect.
Instead of publicly shaming girls for their bodies, shouldn't we teach boys that girls aren't just sexual objects? So why is it my responsibility to make sure that boys can concentrate on their work? If I move my shirt over a centimeter, do you believe boys will stop looking at me? Boys will be boys is not an excuse. This dress code promotes rape, culture, and sexism. We would greatly appreciate your support to fight this degrading environment I am growing up in and protect future generations. Thank you.
So while their experiences related to the dress code were unfortunate, I was really heartened by the fact that they took action, that they wrote and presented such smart and passionate speeches on their own behalf and on the behalf of their female classmates. And in the larger current context of the current Me Too movement, in which girls and women are courageously stepping forward to denounce sexual harassment and bring awareness to the magnitude of the problem, it gave me hope that these inspiring, brave girls were going to eventually develop some hashtags of their own. Perhaps not me, or I'm not taking it, exercising their right to free speech and their muscle of free speech, and to the parents, teachers, and district who helped them develop, these very active citizens. But finally, this has been a challenging year for our local community, for public education, for the country. But we can all be proud in how our district, our staff, and our board served as a great example to our students on what it looks like to be engaged community members, engaged citizens, by taking a strong public stance in support of our values, our schools, and our students. Okay, and that brings us to C14, the organization of the board, and I will pass the gavel to the clerk.
Thank you, President Close. As clerk of the board, I'm responsible to open up the election for president, so I am looking for someone to be nominated for president of our school board. Director Carl.
Madam Clerk, I would like to nominate Jen Close.
Can I get a second? We need a second.
Need a second.
I'll second. Are there any other nominations?
Yes, I nominate myself.
Can I get a second?
I don't believe I need a second. It's just an affirmation. I look at our rules and the Robert's Rules of Order, so.
He's been nominated, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will believe you. So we have 2 people up for nomination right now, Jenny Close and Ron Christoph. Are there any other nominations? All right, so as we have 2, we're going to do a roll call vote. So when your name is called, you're going to say Ms. Close or Mr. Christoph.
Director Christoph?
Me.
Director Fong?
Jenny Close.
Director Carl?
Jen Close.
Director Pugh?
Jen Close.
Director Anderson?
Jen Close.
Director Sheffield?
Jen Close.
President Close?
Jen Close.
The motion carries. Congratulations, President Close. You're now the new president and current.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I'm going to give this to you.
Okay, I'm now going to accept nominations for Vice President. Are there any nominations?
Bill Carl.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Director Anderson for Bill Carl, seconded by Director Pugh. Are there any other nominations? Okay, then we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph?
Yes.
Director Fong?
Aye, yes.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, Vice President Carl. Now, I will accept nominations for clerk. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Director Fong.
Okay, I have a nomination for Director
Second.
Fong, seconded by Director Pugh. Any other nominations? Okay, then roll call vote please, Lori.
Director Christoph?
Yes.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Director Fong. You are still the clerk. You're the clerk again.
It looks strangely familiar.
Excuse me?
I said it looks strangely familiar.
Yes, it looks strangely familiar. It does. Okay, so let's go to C14D, where we have to appoint the superintendent as secretary to the board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Pugh, seconded by Director Carl. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. C14E, which is adoption of the 2018 board meeting calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Pugh, seconded by Director Carl. Roll call vote, please.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Yeah, and I think we did that a couple of weeks ago.
President Close?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Reports. San Jose Teachers Association.
Hi, President Will Lyon is sick tonight, so I'm going to give some words for him. I'm Catherine Howell at Cook Middle School. Start out by saying thank you for the day of bargaining we had on December 7th. It was one of the best sessions we've had in 2 years. We hope it's a new normal for our teams. It was really good to have some back and forth, some interaction between our two negotiating teams, and we hope that we can continue to meet regularly and have these healthy discussions and get away from the atmosphere of the mediation and the fact-finding. And we really hope to make some significant progress towards getting a contract in place before it expires again, right? So on that note, President Lyon, myself, and the negotiating team have been actively encouraging a yes vote on our tentative agreement. The voting closes tomorrow at 4 p.m., so we'll hope to have an answer by then and let you all know as soon as possible. We feel that it really takes a healthy step towards our healthcare mess, and really tries to fix the problems that started almost 15 years ago. It's going to help to attract and retain, we feel, new teachers into the district, which has been one of our arguments of problems and priorities that need to be adjusted within the district. We also really have high hopes for the Budget Advisory Committee, and thank you for creating that and allowing that to go forward with SRTA members and all the other members. I know there's business people on it. CSEA, I think is represented, right? So that's a really great opportunity to get lots of informed stakeholders together and help us make some real forward-looking decisions about the budget and have a really clear vision for everybody of what the next step is to take with that. And we got some really good, dedicated volunteers on that committee, and their real earnest desire to generate solutions, which is where SRTA is standing right now, as we want to fix our problems, move forward, continue to attract and retain really highly qualified teachers into the district, and make Santa Rosa City Schools a destination district again, rather than sort of a district that people are taking as their second or third choice, which has become a pattern that SRTA has seen over the years. So I guess that's all I've got for tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you. CSEA. Superintendent? No report. No board member reports because it's student of the month. And Frank, you're skipping your CSBA and SBA, is that correct? Ron, do you have a CSBA report? Okay. All right, that brings us to the consent calendar.
Move items E2 through 8 and 10 through 12.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And then E9, Directors Fong and Christoph wanted to pull this item. Do you have questions?
I just would like a little bit of explanation. Excuse me, I just don't understand. I need some education on this. Basic fee services, I know that there's a big cost overrun or a different cost and we're ending up paying, but it was attributed to basic fee services. Could you just explain what basic fee services are to me?
Sure. Excuse me. When we entered into the contract with QKA, and their design proposal was approximately $2.5 million. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. Through that process, the bidding process, the ultimate award to Kaya Group, the construction cost for that project nearly doubled to $4.54 million. Per the original contract with QKA, it stipulates in the contract that they get paid on the construction cost of the project, a percentage of that, which I believe, and Mike can correct me, was around 8%. of the construction cost.
And that is the basic fee service.
Yeah, for them doing the design proposal and getting documents ready for construction.
So, excuse me for this, not knowing this, but the 2.5 million, and it's not just about this track, it's not about this project at all, it's just about in general.
That's what I understand, yeah.
The 2.5 million was not a bid, that was an estimate of what they thought it was going to cost. When the bids came in, they were much higher.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Director Carl.
The scope of the project didn't change, however, correct?
The scope did change with the needed items from DSA upon their review and getting that project out of DSA, especially for ADA access around the stadium and the parking lot.
So but when the bid was awarded, the scope didn't change in the bidding process.
The award for the construction contract included all of the DSA changes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which at the time, prior to the bid, was anticipated to be $2.5 million.
Correct.
So this is an issue that I had a long time ago when we had a facilities committee meeting, that I wanted to adequately and fairly pay our vendors, our architects that we work with. But it seems odd to me that just because the price went up, and I suspect that has an awful lot to do with availability of labor and a lot of other things that are affecting everybody from a construction standpoint. My understanding is, practically speaking, it doesn't increase the work that the architect has to do, or at least if it does, it doesn't to the tune of 2 times. And that's, I think, where I've got some concern.
We agree. Mr. Braff and I had several conversations with QK, and I'll invite him down to talk about that for a minute as well.
No, and I appreciate, and I'm anxious to hear from Mike, but it seems like you guys have had that discussion, and it sounds like you don't disagree with what is being expressed by the board. And a $10,000 reduction, in my mind, doesn't address the issue.
There was added services that they needed to do, whether that equates to the amount that was billed. I can't tell you that because I haven't been provided the backup. But the contract that was signed, right or wrong, by the district that was issued does allow them to bill for the monies that the job was awarded at. We can take that into consideration for future contracts, but that is the contract that the district currently uses across the board.
My recommendation is that, and if I've got support on the board on this, but my recommendation is you go back to them and indicate that if I have no issue if there are additional services, and if you guys get backup associated with that and can tell us from a staff standpoint that these additional services, in fact, are cost X amount of dollars, and we increase it by 30, 40, 50, 60, pick a number, 1,000, because of those directly related to those services, I'm not going to have any issue with that. But just because the percentage increase goes double the amount, because the amount practically goes double because of circumstances completely out of the realm of anything else, tells me that there may be a frustration of purpose issue. There may be a number of contractual issues that would actually allow us to get out of that contract. So I would suggest that we not vote on this item today, not approve it, that you go back to the architects and indicate that we're real interested in what their increased costs actually are, and we want to remunerate them for that appropriately. But if they are not willing to renegotiate that based on costs that aren't directly related to increased services, and we are forced to accept that because of contract, that we suspect that that will be taken into consideration in future awards of contracts for future projects. At the same time, I would like to get a legal opinion that that the bidding area, or the bidding, that's a word that I want, the bidding what's going on in the marketplace.
The climate.
That's now causing the bids to be substantially higher. Was not something that the architect expected, was not something that we expected, and I think there's some contract law provisions that, on a general basis, when something happens that the parties never considered could happen, was clearly not negotiated within the concept of the contract, that those events occur, that maybe that has an impact on whether or not the contract is any good. And I would like a legal opinion associated with that, unless we're in a position where we can get the architect to agree to an increase in costs directly related to services that they provide backup to staff for.
I will gladly approach
I mean,
that.
that's one board member. So, I mean, I cannot now make a motion having just spewed that out. And there may be other comments, but that would be the motion that I would like somebody to make at some point.
We can readdress their costs with them, just to let the board know everything that you've brought to our attention, or the bond team's attention tonight, has been also brought to QKA's attention to take into consideration.
Right.
So we'll readdress this issue with them and see where we go, what they come back with. But we have had some of the discussion you're bringing up.
And I sense that. I sense that that's where you were from a staff standpoint, but I want to back you up. And I want the board to back you up with some pretty clear language about where we stand with respect to that, and actions that we may have to take to be able to support the public in that. And we're talking about public dollars. I have nothing against that. They provided good services to us, but we are responsible to spend those bond dollars properly, and to make sure that these events that have occurred that are having a drastic impact on construction costs across the board don't unwittingly end up increasing something that is purely percentage-based, that was absolutely not within the concept of any of the parties at the time that they contracted.
Hear you loud and clear, and we'll readdress the issue.
Director Christoph,
Yes, one of the things that I was going to ask when I asked to pull this was my colleagues on the board that are versed in contract law to come to my aid, because my objections, you know, I don't want to belabor this. Last time we talked about this over at the Charter School for the Arts, I mentioned that when this was brought up at $1.9 million, you know, I thought, well, that's a lot of money, you know, and that's, you know, every dollar is very dear regarding our bond dollars. And then it went to 2.5 out to bid, and that's a substantial jump. You know, construction costs, requirements by the state architect. I don't know how that breaks down. But we said yes to that in spite of the fact that this was a huge increase in the amount of money to, you know, for this project. And then to get that whammy on top of it, there's just a trigger in there that says if it goes up, we get more money. And I would totally agree with Bill that, you know, if there is more to the job, but I would want to go back in there and negotiate. As a matter of fact, I think it's bad faith. You know, we get dinged and we make money, the other company makes money. So anything we can do to save the money, there's a substantial fee already being paid to the architects. This is just like a bonus. And for me, the thing is future contracts. I would really like to see if we can factor in there any kind of projections regarding future construction costs because of the fires and everything else now. I think it's just going to be tougher. And the same thing with the state architect. You know, if we think that they're going to have some fees that are going to be included, or there's a suspicion that there might be, I think we ought to talk about that before we award contracts. And then anything like you know, an 8% trigger or 10% or whatever it is regarding construction or increases in costs, I think that's something we should talk about as a board, whether we want to sign contracts like that or not. So anyway, those are my 2 cents. I would support Bill, support what Lori's saying too.
So what to answer that comment, what I can relay is that in any future contracts moving forward, we're putting measures in place to try to lock with a lump sum and make sure everything's taken into consideration so we don't have to deal with an issue like this in the future.
So Director Palm.
I'm just a little slow. Thank you so much, Director Carl and Director Christoph, for helping me and you guys helping me. But, okay, so I'm reading the board reports. It's due to rising construction costs and with the added division of state architects, the DSA requirements, the actual cost was substantially higher. So why didn't QKA know about the DSA requirements before they set it at 2.5?
That's a question for them to answer.
That's exactly right.
So if we don't have a motion, why don't we just pull this item and ask staff to address some of the concerns that have been stated by the board here and bring this back? Okay?
Just talked about that.
Yeah, we'll just pull it completely. Okay, so this brings us to our F items. F1, a call for nominations for CSBA Delegate Assembly. And so there's a call for nominations to the Delegate Assembly. The discussion I was having back here offline with Director Pugh and Superintendent was to clarify whether or not this is in addition to Director Christoph's position, and it is. So we can nominate another delegate to the Delegate Assembly from our area.
I'm not real clear on what's, I know we have other Area 3 sub-areas. That's my guess. I didn't see that on the report here, which sub-area is up, but we do have people I know from Santa Rosa that are on the Delegate Assembly, and I'm guessing their term is coming up, and I haven't talked to them at all.
We know you're not up, and there's 2 in the sub-region A, so it has to be the representative from the Bennett Valley School District.
Lori, do you have the documentation about which areas, the sub-areas?
It was for Region 3, but I'm trying to...
Yeah, that's all it says is Region 3.
Region 3 has three or four, I think it's 4 areas now. One is Sonoma, and you're in Sonoma. And so there would be perhaps an opening of the other person from Sonoma in sub-region A.
Yeah, we have, the other person is on a delegate from Santa Rosa, is from the Bennett Valley District.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that's the seat that's up.
That's the seat that's up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I believe, Lori, we had that documentation that it was, we went back and forth too, because we weren't sure, were they talking about your position? But there were names provided and people who weren't running anymore or weren't going to do it anymore, or it was an open seat. And so, I do think it was Bennett Valley.
It's Bennett Valley.
Yeah. Can you, do you have it?
I just have the letter that we received from
Right.
CSBA.
It doesn't specify.
So are we supposed to be nominating somebody? Or are we supposed to be, what it says is we must elect a representative. We would do that if we had one or more people that were then presented to each of the school districts, and we would then vote for one of those. But I don't think we're electing.
No, we're nominating.
This should not be an action item, it should be a report item discussion. Because there's nothing to vote on yet, because what's being turned in is the nomination papers. So we don't have anybody to vote on yet. So this is just notifying the board that if you know somebody that wants to run, encourage them to go through the process to do that. Right, and so, if we receive this in Region A, sub-region A, then we know that Ron's not up. So it's got to be the representative that's holding the seat from Bennett Valley.
So that was the confusion.
That's
There's
it.
not more than one in.
Right.
That was what prompted my question to you, is this is confusing.
It is confusing.
Yes.
But it should be a discussion item, no action required.
Okay. Director Fong?
So just a little bit more clarification. Does this have to be somebody different from our district? We should be nominating somebody from our region, not anyone here? Or it doesn't matter?
It has happened in Region 3 before. We've had 2 from Solano. But it's very rare that you get two board members from the same board to be delegates. So, and I don't know if the person who is we're thinking about is actually going to run for re-election or not. But this is just a request. If you know anybody who wants to run, tell them to run. Get the paperwork in by the 8th of January. So there's nothing to vote on, nothing to see, just move on. It's kind of
Move on, nothing to see here. Is everyone clear on this?
Well, obviously, we weren't. I wasn't.
It's not clear, and they don't give you much information in this letter. All right, well, so we're going to move on to F2, the discussion item regarding the FCMAT progress update.
Good evening, Andre Bell, Assistant Superintendent of Business, and me and the Assistant Superintendent of HR, Jason Lee, will give you an update on the FCMAT report. Pardon me. As you're aware, Santa Rosa City Schools and FCMAT entered into a study agreement in December 14, 2016. The scope of work on that was to identify and make recommendations to prevent and receive financial, human resources, and data management challenges that the district were facing at that time, and wanted to make sure they had clear delineation of responsibilities and roles. The FCMAT organization came to the district office for interviews with various members of the district staff from January through February 2017. In April, the district received the final report from FCMAT containing findings and recommendations as a result of the staff interview. In June 2017, at the Cabinet retreat, the Cabinet discussed how to respond to the FCMAT report. We suggest using a format that was developed from a prior district that is an Excel spreadsheet that goes linear so that you can have a clear idea as to what the findings, recommendations were, and the district's actions on that. So that is part of the packet tonight and for your review.
Thank you very much, Board. As Mr. Bell has indicated, we've included that action plan in our packet for the Board to review tonight. And this is a living document. This is something that we, in each department and collectively with both departments, HR and Human Resources and Business, review on a regular basis to kind of track the progress we're making and the recommendations we received in April. Mr. Bell and I met with Michelle Giacomini, who did the presentation to the Board last spring, to kind of get her opinion and to review where we are with our progress. She provided us a letter, which is also in the Board packet, kind of commending us on what we've done. She talked about how the organization that Andre and Joel put in place for us to track the recommendations in the FCMAT report was better than she's used to getting. We discussed some of the things we need to work on and some of the recommendations specifically, and she'll be back to review our progress in April, and she will then also be bringing kind of a final report on our progress to the Board at that time. So right now, I just open it up to the Board for any questions you may have.
Director Christoph.
Jason, when they were here, and I remember talking to them, they said that they were going to do, as a part of the report, like a review, a year review or something like that. It would be a narrative. Is this what you're talking about in April? Is she going to do a full-blown, this is what I see that's happened for, over the years, so rather than just a letter? Okay.
Yeah, she'll actually be coming back in the spring. In the letter, it indicates that she'll be coming back again, conducting some additional staff interviews, to kind of give a final report on our progress. And during this time, Andre and I have been in contact with her to kind of pick her brain and get some additional questions answered as we go through the process. For me, the best part of this is the communications that it's really kind of, for lack of a better word, forced us to integrate into our two departments, so that we have these cross-department meetings going on. And we're really, on the HR side, the thing that I'm proud of that will continue to be improved is the automation of what we do. As you know, people create a lot of paper. Paper is paper, and sometimes doesn't expedite processes that we need to have in place to make sure we're handling the humans, the most important resource in our district, effectively. So for me, the automation that we're looking to implement and have on some level implemented is really going to be a good thing for both departments.
Director Pugh.
And just a couple of questions. Looking at the corrective action report or board item report, is there anything that FCMAT provided that is not in this particular report? Is it all in there?
At this point, yes, it is all in there. I have been in contact with Michelle because we're looking, Cindy Brennan, the Director of Human Resources, and I are looking for some exemplar departments, and we've discussed this with Andre and Joel as well, especially in the area of maximizing our use of technology. So that will be coming in the future, but we're not quite there yet. It wasn't included at this point.
So everything the FCMAC wanted us to take a look at and resolve if possible is in this report. And is there anything in the FCMAC report that you, either in the business services side or the human resources side, disagree with? Because just because they make a recommendation doesn't necessarily mean you have to go there if there's a reason.
As we go forward and continue to review the report, and each item is not complete yet, and some of them are still under review, that's to the point that where we either are going to agree with the recommendations or not, but at this particular point, we have not had that.
And on the sorry, go ahead. Okay. On the HR side, there are some items that are under review. There was a recommendation of, I'm going to say it incorrect, CODIS. It's an online platform that we would look and consider looking at that. We're still in the process of that. We're not sure it's necessarily something we'd fully adopt, but there are some items that are under review, meaning that was a FCMAC recommendation, but we're not quite sure how that's going to fit into our system.
Right. So there are a few of those in there. Okay. So we'd want to keep track of that and see where we end up. When it comes to business services and human resources, sometimes there's a little bit, depending upon what district you're working in, there's a little bit of overlap. One is more in one area than the other. Is there any desire to look at the reorganization of any two departments and either move certain actions over from one to the other?
I don't think there is at least from, this is my perspective, a desire to move one to the other, but what really came out in this is something that, and Superintendent Kitamura has mentioned before, is the tightening of position control, making sure that, which really is a position that has a foot in both worlds, both in HR and business.
Right.
So that's been a focus of improving processes in that area, but as far as my perspective, there's not anything that we're going to move from one department to another.
Okay, thank you.
Director Fong.
I want to commend Diane and staff for undertaking FCMAC in the first place, and for the fantastic report that you got a big congratulations on, that great report that Ms. Giacomini was referring to. And I just want to say that this is such a good thing, because when we're thinking about big systems as a school district and how we do things, and it's kind of like school districts, like any big system, government, anything, we get into this is the way we've always done things. And how does it serve people? And taking a fearless look with no ego involved to try to be excellent, to make our district the most excellent possible is where we want to go, where we want to be. So thank you for taking this on and for the work you're taking on.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to just make a comment on Director Fong's comment that we get lost in the things we do all the time, and especially with the fires that struck, and that kind of alters your reality and forces us all to play a lot of catch up. And Superintendent Kimura reminded us that this outside look is important for the exact reason that Director Fong mentioned, is that we have to step outside or have others step outside and examine what we do to make sure that we really are doing the best we can for our district. So at a point of, to be honest, frustration, she reminded me of, yeah, well, this is important work because exactly what Director Fong said. So.
Thank you. Director Sheffield.
Thank you. Thank you for putting together the report. Mr. Bell, you had mentioned that this is going to act as sort of a living document. And it's really kind of like a task sheet with great recommendations, or at least I'm assuming these are great recommendations coming from the outside. So, and it looks like, looking at, the categories where you're Xing off, checking off, these are in process. Most are in process or already implemented. So it seems as though we're on task. Are there areas, maybe it goes back to what Director Pugh brought up, areas that you might disagree with as recommendations, but continuing on that, are there areas that we're struggling with? that we're having, that bottlenecks or reasons why. Are we going to come back in the spring and have explanation or reason why we weren't able to implement?
I'm going to respond to that. I think that where we may struggle with some of the implementation is due to staffing. And so we're back down to one budget tech. And so it causes, some strife. We will be getting, our new director of M&O will start in January. So we've been operating without that position for a few minutes. So anytime there's a gap in services being provided, it's a little bit of a wrinkle in being able to stay on track for our implementation. One thing that I will mention that we disagree with FCMAT on is they didn't think that we should actually show this spreadsheet. We feel that you should see the spreadsheet and that it be very open and transparent to the public. These are the recommendations. This is where we're at. We'll be very open and honest about we might have missed the mark here, or here we've accelerated. We're just going to look at things much differently, and that's going to be with a very open and transparent. So, do we disagree with them sometimes? Yes, we do. So I don't know if that answered your question about.
I appreciate it.
Right now, what I see there'd be a problem with implementation would be just not enough staff to do what we need to have them do.
Okay, thank you. Answers my questions.
Yeah, thank you for the good report and for doing the hard work and having the humility that it takes, I think, to really work with this kind of report and make changes around it. I think that's challenging, so I appreciate that. The one thing that I would like to see more on this report are more due dates, just to have a better understanding of prioritization, because this is a ton of work. And it's a ton of work, so it would be nice to have a better idea of kind of what's coming first and what are the top priorities. But you're at the beginning, so we'll probably see more of that at the next update. Thank you. Okay, F3, first interim report for fiscal year 2017-18.
Thank you for being patient. Once again, Andre Bell, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and also we have Joel Dantas, the Executive Director of Fiscal Service. We're here to bring you an update on the 27-18 first interim report. Basically, we will review the AB 1200 financial reporting. We'll also bring you an update on first interim revenue and expenditures, as well as the multi-year projections, ending balance, certifications, and what we believe should be some of the next steps the district should take. So basically, a background on the AB 1200 process. As you probably know, that in June you approved the original budget and the LCAP for fiscal year. And now we're in the first interim, which is due by December 15th. We're running a little behind on that, but we have to get it to the county before the end of the month. By March 15th, we also have to do the second interim and a possible third interim if we're at a qualified status. So, and then at the year end, we have the unaudited actuals and our audit that's due in January. So basically, the report comprises of expenditures, revenues, and imbalance, and we also must provide a multi-year projection to ensure that we are in the current fiscal year and as well as 2 years in the future to able to fiscally handle our responsibilities as a district. There are 3 qualifications for reporting. That's positive, qualified, and negative. and currently we're in the qualified status. So this slide basically just gives you an update of what the original approved budget by the board and the differences in the first interim. Basically, we've had a update in the LCAP funding based on the certain current student data. Federal is gone up a little bit because of the Climate Transformation Grant. Other state and revenues is basically learning for school success. And then in other local revenues, we have an increase, and that's mainly due to the fires that we had and the revenues that we probably received for damages in the fire regarding from FEMA, our insurance company, and a SERV program that we submitted. This is a basic update of our student data. As you can see, as we go forward, we're still facing somewhat of a decline in enrollment. And the most important aspect of this slide is that we receive ADA, but we must staff on student enrollment. So we get our funding based on ADA, but we have to staff for students that are being enrolled into the district. This is just to give you an up-to-date on how we get our funds in the general fund. The EPA is a education protection account. We also receive property taxes and the state aid. One thing we want to point out in this particular slide is that property taxes go down, state aid goes up. So it's still based on the ADA appropriation that we get. And concerning about the fire, that's how it would go into the next couple of years as we go forward. Yes, sir.
So the county, Sonoma County, is expecting a reduction in property tax revenue of perhaps $21 million as a result of the fire. That obviously is going to have some impact on us. What I'm hearing you say is whatever the reduction is in property tax is going to back up on the state aid so that 137,000 rough number should stay roughly the same.
Yes, so that's how the state appropriates the money to us. In other words, we do not get all of the property taxes that necessarily come from City of Santa Rosa, but if we are short in the property taxes coming in from the roll, then the state aid would go up. And what we also wanted to point out in this particular slide is that as we were preparing the budget for 17-18, and then prior to me and Joel coming on board, the district did take necessary steps to make the 17-18 budget to be qualified. And we just wanted to point out that these are some of the cuts that were done to balance the budget for 17-18. And that's where we really got started at this particular process. So these are general fund expenditures as related to the budget and the first interim and the variance in between the two. As you can see, certificated salaries and classified salaries have gone up. One thing to note is the employee benefits. There was an adjustment we had to make because it was overstated in the original budget, so we reduced that amount there. Books and supplies gone up because of the one-time education material that we're going to be purchasing this year, and other capital services as well. And it's gone up basically due to the expenditures that, as we said, due to the fire and the reimbursements that we will receive from the insurance companies. And capital outlay is adjusted because in the original budget, the food truck was actually in that budget, and it's already been purchased from last year, so we removed that actually expenditure because it was in last year's budget. So that is where the variance comes in between the original budget and the first interim. General fund expenditures, as you all know, that most of the part of our general fund is spent on salaries and benefits, small percentages on capital outlay, services, and books and supplies. So in the interim third-year projections, this is where we give an update as to what will be in the 2018-19 budget and the variance that will be in the 19-20 budget. Mainly what you will see is in the lower part of this that we have removed the fire-related expenses and the instructional material. We also are removing all expenditures that we had for the fire. Things that are going up will also increase for the stirs and purrs as we go forward, and increases in step and column. One thing we want to make sure you clearly understand is it does not include the tentative agreement with Santa Rosa Teachers Association. Those numbers are not included in this first interim report, and they will be included in the second interim report. So this is our three-year, multi-year projections. Basically, we are, though revenues have gone up and expenditures, we still project at this current point in time that we will have to reduce $5 million going into for the 18-19 year budget. And then in 19-20, that number will go to $7 million, but that also includes the $5 million that we reduce for 18-19, so an additional $2 million that we need to reduce in 19-20. This is to give you an idea of how the general fund and the reserves will really look at this particular point. And as you can see, our reserves will be in 18-19, 19-20, just above our minimum, and that indicates that we must take the necessary steps to reduce the budget in order to make sure that we have our minimum reserve as required by the state. So in conclusion, what we're going to say is the budget that the interim we're going to submit is a qualified, which means that we may not meet our obligations for the current fiscal year, and really the concern is the 2 fiscal years out after that. So we have to make the necessary adjustments in the budget to be out years, and that's where we're going to submit to the county. And our next step is the update the enrollment projections. We're going to use a demographic study to get a better idea of the enrollment. Quite naturally, that is going to also have to take into account students who are going to be displaced by the fire as we go forward. But we definitely need an updated demographic study. And as I stated earlier, in the second interim, we will include the update as it relates to fire, and if the TA is approved by the Santa Rosa Teachers Association, the impact that will have on the budget. We are working, as I stated, and I'm sure you know, with the Budget Advisory Committee, so we can bring the community into it as we try to be transparent about the objectives of the budgets and the reductions that we have to make. And our goal really is to bring district into a positive financial certification, and that is really what we're working towards. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Director Kristof.
Andrea and Joel, thank you very much. This is a very clear report for me, and the information I needed to, take a look and kind of update myself was all there. One question on, we're talking about the fire and insurance. Do we have any rough idea how much we're going to be looking at in terms of claims at this time?
We have a rough idea. I really wouldn't want to say exactly. We have a meeting in January the 15th. We've submitted documentation for the items that we lost in the fire and the services that we had done. The projections, basically, we're going to get back with the insurance company and see exactly what they're going to be reimbursed. I think the biggest claim that we face are the loss of the Hidden Valley Satellite, which is part of the contingency, and as far as Abilene farm that was out there.
Okay. I'm starting to hear people talk about recovering things regarding insurance, and it's, in some cases, it's not a real pretty picture. I'm hoping that we have good luck with our insurance carriers. You know, it seems like it's just a very difficult time for a lot of people. And the one other thing I did want to point out and share with my fellow board members is that the advisory committee that I attended on Monday was very impressive. I thought you guys organized it and did very well in terms of presenting the conversation or keeping the conversation going and presenting the materials you had to do. Very impressed with the members on the board as well. Catherine said that she thought it was a good idea, a real step forward in terms of the way we conduct this process. The questions that were asked by the various community members and members of staff and SRTA and classified showed me that you've got some people that really are thoughtful and have a pretty good understanding of the budget process. So I'm hopeful that when we talk about, the numbers, the money coming in is pretty obvious, but building the budget over the next 2 or 3 years is based on assumptions. And we had very good consultants before that helped us try and understand that in the last couple of years. Both Luce and Terry mentioned the fact that examining the assumptions is very important. And you mentioned that as well when we were talking on Monday. And it's good to do it together, because then I think that really does clarify a lot of things. So I'm looking forward to going as an observer to more of the advisory committee meetings, but I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a way maybe to really move forward in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, and you're always welcome.
Just as a note too, the budget development calendar is in an item, so you can see the dates. Yeah, it's one of the items here.
Director Sheffield.
Thank you again for the report. Mr. Bell, you'd mentioned the need for an updated demographic study following the fires. When and who would do the study?
We have been in discussions with, we've been in.
It's the demographer that did our study for maps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we've been in discussion. The preliminary is that we would have data by February, mid-February. They start now, that we could get the data and report by February. So we'll be bringing the contract back to the board and probably by the next board meeting to get it started.
Great, thank you.
I would also like to say that one of the reasons why we want to do a new demographic study is that when we looked at the, for lack of a better word, maybe their assumption or maybe their algorithms, but the way in which the demographer report was done prior to me coming aboard actually didn't make a lot of sense to me. The way that they allocated space, the way that they allocated numbers of students. And then when Andre came aboard and Joel came aboard and we were looking at that, my team too, we just really we could not repeat to you how they got the numbers that they got. And so we want to, again, as we're working through all of this, we want to be sure we're making decisions on solid numbers, whether they be money numbers or whether they be people numbers. We have to be on a solid ground. So it's very important that we get this demographic study done.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Well, certainly we wish we had more money. It's nice to at least feel confident that we know how much money we have, and I think we have real confidence in our budget at this point. One thing that would be nice is at the PowerPoint that you had tonight, if you could send that to us tonight, and also to the SRTA and CSEA leadership.
We will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's a
Move approval of the first interim.
Second.
move by Director Carl, second by Director Christoph.
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong? Aye. Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. F4, discussion item, measure INL bond update.
Good evening, President Close, members of the board. We're here tonight to give you an update on the bond and facilities program. Mike Braff to my right will be speaking in a few moments. Director of Facilities, Adrian Beeka, Director of Technology, and we have Sean LaCrone from PBK Architects to talk about the proposed 2018 summer roofing program that we're going to talk. I'd also like to note that the following items after this will also be encompassed in this presentation as well. We'll go over them in brief afterwards, but we plan to talk about those that we'll be requesting approval on after this discussion presentation. With that, we'll go ahead. Briefly, before I hand it over to Mr. Braff, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the major projects that happened last summer, specifically roofing at the sites listed on here: Piner, BLS, Slater, Hidden Valley Elementary, and Monroe Elementary, the portables at that site. No small feat with the late start that we got with the bidding process last spring, but we were able to complete all of these sites for the start of school. And as the slide shows, on this slide we show nearly $1 million in money back to the bond program. And that's a big credit to not only Mike Braff, but also working with the people that we did at PBK and with the roofing companies to make sure that we were able to provide something that was necessary, but also be able to maximize the investments that we were making to those schools and to the future of the bond programs in general. So big thanks to everyone here at this table. I'd also like to briefly touch on the technology infrastructure project that's been going on for about 1.5 years now. We're starting to wind that down, much to the credit of Mr. Beeka down at the end with the work that he's doing. We're about 80% complete with both network cabling and network equipment upgrades throughout the district. We've started rolling out or deploying the new phone system, which, if you'll recall, takes 3 antiquated systems and brings us into one single system for the entire district. By the time that the elementary schools return after winter break, all the school sites will have the new phone system, and at that time we'll start the plan for the rest of the school sites, starting with middle schools and finishing with the high school and district office by early summer 2018 for that entire project. We also have the Bell Clock speaker at 2 sites now, and I believe we'll have it at 6 sites by the end of winter break. 9 sites by the end of winter break. We'll have those deployed as well. So we're getting excited to finish this major project, although we still have several months to go. I'd also like to say that through not only the bond program, but through the utilization of E-rate funds, last Friday night, our internet connection went from 1 gig to 10 gigs, going to Sonoma County Office of Education. We also got our load balance link operable between the district office and LC Allen. We're doing the final steps of that configuration in order to have 2 paths to the internet for our school sites, that in the event that one of them goes down, they will all fail over to a single link. As we've talked about the dependency on technology in the classroom with Chromebooks, iPads, and other computing devices, and the amount of resources that are now housed online, this was a long time coming, and a very proud moment for me for sure, and we'll definitely see the benefit of doing that, not in a couple of months, but in January. It will pay dividends, so we're very excited about that. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Braff to talk about what's going on right now and what we're looking forward to for the spring and summer of 2018.
Good evening, Superintendent and Board of Trustees. I'm going to touch on the 2 major projects that we're currently working on. Mario Carrillo Stadium, Phase 1, which is a synthetic field and new all-weather track. We're currently on schedule and ready to deliver late February, early March. With Phase 2, which we'll touch on here shortly, which will be the press box, new press box, which is slotted for this summer. Moving on to Piner Stadium lighting project. We're also on schedule there with early February completion for that project. So we're going to move on to the upcoming 2018 projects. This is we're just going to, here's a list of projects that we'll get in a little more detail here in a minute, but the bond projects are going to consist of roofing and HVAC for 6 sites. We're going to also touch on a Montgomery High School 2-story classroom building, which was in the master plan. As just discussed a minute ago, the new press box at Carrillo, a new bank of restrooms for Proctor Terrace Elementary School because they were lacking restrooms for the student count there, and school site marquees, which we're going to start with roughly 6 and then move on to complete the remainder in the district that are lacking. We do have one fire recovery project, which is for Hidden Valley, and we're also going to touch on where we're at, current status for Prop 39 Energy Efficiency Plan, which will be submitted to the state. So, discussing our roofing and HVAC projects, we have 6 projects, as you can see, which is James Monroe Elementary, Elsie Allen High School, Comstock Middle, Maria Carrillo High School, Slater Middle, and Santa Rosa High School. As you might recall, we did do 4 portables at Monroe last year, so we didn't lose our emergency repair funding monies that the district received. And we also did do the gym at Slater. Right now, per the direction of the board last year when I came aboard, the facilities team was asked to get out ahead of the game and get these jobs on the street and bid early, so we would have hopefully more bidders and get some better numbers. So with that said, 4 projects that will actually be advertised January 9th will be Monroe, Elsie Allen, Comstock, and Carrillo. And the reason those 4 are coming first is we didn't have to go to the state for approval on those. Slater and Santa Rosa have some structural work, and they're currently being submitted to DSA, and as soon as those come out, we'll put those out to bid. Touching on that, the bids will be due for the 4 projects touched on February 8th, so the team is way out and in front of where they were last year. So we're going to move on to talk about site-specific. Comstock, the red is where new roofing is going to be placed and the replacement of HVAC units. The blue is going to be roof repair, which I think the colored map is pretty self-explanatory. We'll get through all the sites, and if you have any questions pertaining to the roofing projects, we can address those after we go through them all, if you don't mind. So we're going to move forward to Herbert Slater. As you can see, quite a bit of work also here, and we also are going to replace skylights through the corridors, which will bring in natural light. Moving on to Elsie Allen. Once again, you can see that the red is where new roofs will be placed and new HVAC. The blue, you can see, will also have new HVAC, but the majority of this campus did not need new roofs. It's just in need of repair. Moving forward to Carrillo. Similar circumstances, a few new roofs with all new HVAC throughout the campus, and the majority of the roofs just need some repair. Moving on to Santa Rosa High School. The campus is so big, and the amount of work that needs to occur here cannot be done over one summer. So this has been broken into 3 phases. The first phase will consist of Building A, Science and Music. Phase 2 will be the North Gym, the multi-purpose auditorium, agricultural building, VMT building, shop, and buildings D, E, F, G, and H. Phase 3 will consist of the South Gym, Media Center, and portables. The next slide will show what will be addressed in Phase 1, which I just touched on, which will once again be Building A, Science and Music, and that was chosen to be in Phase 1 because that's the most problematic areas. Moving forward, or actually that wraps up the roofing projects.
Dr. Brown.
Questions?
Thank you. Mike, with respect to all of these cost estimates, are these estimates based on post-fire analysis or pre-fire analysis?
I'll let Sean address that, but I believe we've taken all cost into consideration.
So the original estimate was done prior to the fires that occurred there, but I have been in contact with a lot of the contractors around here. Because we are getting out ahead of a lot of this, we are anticipating the cost not to be increasing as much due to the fires that were there, because you're still dealing with insurance, everything else. And so hoping with this jump ahead of time that we're not going to see a major increase at this time.
Is that because roof and HVAC on construction projects for replacements on the fire is really the last thing, or one of the last things to be done after full framing? And we're probably months away from people starting to do that with any significant number of buildings. And as a result, this summer, we still think we'll have adequate numbers of contractors?
So this summer is going to be very similar to kind of like last year, so we'll still have a little bit of a shortage just due to the influx of all the construction across the state. But what you see with the fire that goes on there, a lot more of the construction that's going to be going on is going to be residential up front, because when you deal with a lot of the commercial ones, dealing with the insurance, the FEMA, everything else, those usually are about year 2, maybe 3 out before you really start seeing that construction. And the roofing and HVAC here is more your commercial work, not your residential work. And so that's why we're not anticipating a huge hike at this time.
I'll also add that there's been contingencies placed on these projects to help alleviate any cost overruns.
There's contingencies within the construction cost estimate?
Correct.
Do any of those exceed 10%?
No.
Okay.
Any further questions on the roofing?
Just for clarification's sake, Mike, the Santa Rosa High project, it's phases, Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3.
Correct.
But what my understanding was that it's actually probably going to take about 4 years.
3 years.
It will be 3 years?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to be sure I'm saying the right thing to the parent advisory group, so 3 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Dr. Anderson.
I'm just curious about any existing solar that's on some of these roofs, and especially when you're upgrading, or I don't know if you have any that you're going to, replace, and are you going to be able to maintain, and is it viable, and where do we stand with the solar?
So as far as each of the campuses, as you can see, like Maria Carrillo has a lot of solar that's on there. LCLN has a lot of solar on there. So right now, a lot of those we're anticipating to be able to do work around them. So while we're doing the work, anything that might have to be disconnected to allow us to do the roofing, make sure that we're getting the penetrations watertight, we will make sure that it is back in working condition when we're done. But at this time, we're not like upgrading or changing anything out. We're just making sure we're maintaining the existing system in place.
Great, thanks.
Okay, moving forward to the Montgomery High 2-story classroom building. Currently, and that will be one of the items here that Rick will touch on for approval, is we are bringing the design fee for approval so we can move forward, and if approved, we'll continue to work on design development, the requirements, construction cost, and timelines, and we plan on bringing that back to the board in January for approval to move forward.
Director Christo.
I have a question on this. Montgomery's kind of I've got a spot in my heart for it because it seems like it's the school that really didn't get anything in the last couple of bonds. They had a small theater that was put in an administrative building or administration building, but no classroom building, so this is a big deal. It's the second oldest school in the district. I sat on 3 different committees when we did spent bond money regarding how to upgrade and what we wanted to do on a campus. Was Pioneer and Santa Rosa High School. And one of the committees we sat on, this is an anecdote, I think that's important, was what did we want to do with the wiring in Santa Rosa High School, regarding the internet connection. Well, this is a time when Wi-Fi was, coming out. And the teachers and the staff at Santa Rosa said, we don't want the wires in the building because we're going to go Wi-Fi. So we put in $700,000 worth of wiring in the main Santa Rosa High School building that essentially never got used. There were similar stories at Pioneer too, where we spent money and ultimately the requests and I think some of the insights of the people in the classroom were sort of ignored. My question about the Montgomery building is the process. Are teachers a part of this committee? Is the staff at Montgomery going to be involved in, how many rooms do they need? Where is it going to be located on campus? What kind of setup are they going to need in their classrooms? Are they part of this whole deal?
We've had one preliminary meeting with site administration, and yes, they will be included.
So teachers and staff will be involved in
Yes,
this
sir.
discussion? Okay. Thank you. That's kind of windy for a small point.
Any other questions on the Montgomery classroom building? Okay, we're going to move forward then to the Mario Carrillo Stadium press box. This will be phase 2 to phase 1. Which is being done because the current press box was out of code compliance and basically was condemned, so they can't use it. They haven't been able to use it for, I believe, 1 or 2 years. This will finish off the stadium and bring them into compliance. Moving forward to Proctor Terrace Elementary. As touched on earlier, there's actually only 1 student bank of restrooms, which is inadequate for the site. So what we're proposing is another bank of restrooms, which will be boys, staff, girls in the back of the campus, which will adequately provide restrooms for the campus. Moving on to multiple sites, marquees. This will provide site identity. It could be used as a safety and informational item for staff and the public. As you can see, the 6 sites slotted currently are Herbert Slater, James Monroe, Albert Biella, Helen Lehman, Lincoln, and Cook Middle. Is there any questions on the marquees?
I like marquees.
Okay, moving on to Hidden Valley. We are proposing placing 3 portables to accommodate the 80 students that have been displaced from Hidden Valley Satellite, and that's what this project pertains to. Any questions on Hidden Valley portables? Go ahead.
I think it's also important to note that the portables going in will be used for 1st and 2nd grade students, so we don't have to accommodate kindergarten or TK needs with their special requirements from the state.
Director Fong.
No.
Director Fong and then Director Pugh.
These are portables that are going to be put on the Hidden Valley site, right?
Correct.
Did you give us a time frame for that? I'm sorry.
All these projects are slotted to be done this summer.
Oh, the
Well, let me back up. Besides Montgomery. Montgomery will
the portables for Hidden Valley won't be there this spring then? They won't be there till this summer, is that right?
We're working to get them done as quickly as possible, but a better way of putting it is we'll start the project as soon as we come out of design and get out of the state. So if we can get that done sooner than later, we're going to go ahead and try to. But right now, the Hidden Valley site, to my knowledge, is currently accommodating the students that are there. Rick or Diane might be able to touch on that a little more.
Well, they are accommodating. We want to get them into their own classrooms as quickly as possible, but we are bound by regulations and things that we have to do in order to put buildings in. So I will tell you, Mike and his staff are working as quickly as possible to get those portables in. So we don't want to give any false hopes, but you know, we are working. He knows that it's a high priority to get those portables in. So,
Director Pugh.
Excuse me, I'd like to know what the long-term plan is or build out of the satellite school. Are we looking to replace it, change it?
well, I can tell you we don't want to give up the land. I mean, we want to still continue to do some sort of a partnership. It's really going to be dependent, I will tell you, on our enrollment. Right. Right now, we are 135 students down as of Monday. When we hit the winter break, my estimate and what I hear from parents and folks is that we're going to lose a lot more. And so that changes, I think, the dimension of the need of a satellite in order for overflow to happen from Hidden Valley, because Hidden Valley used to be so impacted, plus the partnership with Keysight. We still want to work with Keysight, but I think that we have an opportunity to maybe look at something different, a different configuration that we want to explore and are beginning to explore. Because Hidden Valley in itself before the fire, one of the reasons why we could accommodate the Hidden Valley satellite students was we actually had 40 spaces at Hidden Valley by the time school had begun. So we only needed to accommodate another 40 students. So we need to take a look at that. It's also why we want another demographic study. And we think that there's some miscalculations along the way. So that's a long answer to, we do want to continue to have a school there. Depending on enrollment, it may look a little different. It may be a different configuration. It may be an opportunity to put a completely, one of our programs at another school at that site that still meets the needs for Keysight, but also meets the needs for the district. So.
Okay, thank you.
Director Carl.
Thank you. Mike, there are a number of these that indicate that the architect has been selected. Does that mean that we've entered into a contract with them, and do we have the same issues that we had on the previous item that we talked about?
So yes, on the docket for tonight, architects have been selected for approval tonight. Some of them have been selected, which will be providing proposals to come in early January. I would say yes, we've addressed the issue that was previously discussed.
Right, I noticed that with respect to the press box, for instance, it's a flat fee.
Most of them you're going to see are flat fees right now is what's being negotiated.
Thank you.
Regarding Prop 39, really what we can relay at this time is that we're on schedule to submit to the California Energy Commission in February. And what we'll do is we'll bring a plan back to the board for approval once it's complete. And just wanted to let you know that we're on track. Not really much more to report besides that right now. We can provide more details once the report's done.
Director Christoph.
Excuse me?
Well, we're asking, do you have a question about this Prop 39? Okay. Any other questions about this report? It's a discussion item. Okay. So do your questions pertain to the action items coming up?
Thank you very much. The whole team contributed.
Director Pugh.
There's a lot of work in here, good report, very clear. But one thing I didn't see is anything about CCLA, Cesar Chavez. So I know they're crowded, they're wanting to grow larger. What's our plan there?
So once again, it's related to the demographic studies, related to the enrollment. What we want to take a look at is enrollment at current elementary schools. As you know, Lincoln is right about 300 students, but has the capacity for...
About 3 times that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, at least double that. And so we're looking at different configurations and possibly different locations that CCLA could occupy, not on the Comstock campus. We are just now in the preliminary discussions around that, talking with parents, getting feedback from parents, getting feedback from staff about what we see as the future, because we know CCLA is going to grow, we know, and they can't grow at the Comstock site. And even if they could grow, it is not conducive to them for playground, for parking, for restroom facilities. They should have a space that they can play, that they have a playground and ample space. And so we're looking at all of our school sites right now, our elementary school sites, and seeing and determining if there's space that could possibly be used for CCLA. So Dr. Guzman will be having parent meetings in January regarding that, along with the facilities folks, to have that conversation with parents.
So this is on a short order list. It's something that's going to be addressed within the next year?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Thank you for your very thorough report.
Thank you.
I want to take a moment to commend Mike Bruff. I don't know if this has been said, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. And that is, he was integral in the fire recovery cleanup for our 23 sites. It was his connections to the various construction HVAC world that he has that allowed us to get people here quickly and efficiently, and he could hold them to task in a wonderful way. And so I publicly want to commend you. We could not have gotten the cleanup done in the way that we did without your leadership and your help and service. So Mike, thank you so much.
I want to thank you, but it also was a team effort.
Okay, I thank the team, but I'm thanking you right now.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to F5, an action item approving the summer 2008 roofing and HVAC project.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Director Christoph, seconded by Director Fong. Director Carl.
So we just, hang on a second. You guys are moving too fast for me here. So that's a motion to approve F5?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Well, may I speak to that motion?
You may.
Thank you. We have a PBK fee proposal in that is not acceptable to me. It appears as if we're not going to pay anticipated professional fees for construction documentation and construction quality assurance phases in excess of the estimated construction cost. And I have to say that the percentage that is being charged on the non-DSA projects and the DSA projects, I think is reasonable. And I'm pleased to see it. But the language is pretty loose. And while there's language at the end of the proposal that says that we won't pay for any additional services without approval, it doesn't say in here that if the actual cost of construction is greater than what the estimate is, that we aren't going to be paying on a percentage basis of that additional cost. What I'd like to see is language in here that says that this is what the fee will be, unless there in fact are additional services, and if there are any additional increase as a result of increased costs in bids, if there's additional work that needs to be done, I'm okay with that. But I can't find that in this proposal, and so it's a little loosey-goosey to me.
I would agree with you that it's not in this writing. However, there is an agreement that has been made with PBK. PBK is sitting at the table. I'll let them address that, and we can't add that verbiage.
Okay.
Yeah, our original proposal was a not to exceed cost, and so if that verbiage is not in there, yes, this is a not to exceed cost that's going on there. So if the construction cost goes up, we will not be adding any additional fees.
Okay. Can we, as a friendly amendment, add the provision that we have an agreement, and we're passing this on the understanding that there will not be an additional fee cost associated with additional construction costs above the estimate? Is that acceptable to the mover and the seconder? Super. I'm happy.
All right. So we'll have a roll call vote now with that friendly amendment.
Can you repeat the motion call? Who the motion was made by?
Can you repeat your amendment?
Carl and Fong?
Sure.
Oh, moved by Director Christoph. Seconded by
It was moved by
Director
Director Christoph, seconded by Fong. Mine is only a request for a friendly amendment, so the movers and seconders stay the same. They both accepted the friendly amendment.
But you, I'm sorry, I missed your question, but you got the language that Bill gave you?
Did you get the friendly amendment? Yes.
Okay, that's what we need to know. All right. So now we could do a roll call
Okay.
vote. Thanks.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh? Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay. Motion with the friendly amendment carries. F6, action item approving Murray Creo High School Stadium Press Box Design Fee Proposal, QKA. Do we have any comments, questions?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Carl, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Pugh? Director Anderson?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. F7, the fire recovery approve Hidden Valley Portable Classroom Design Proposal, TLCD.
Move approval.
Moved by Director Carl, seconded by Director Pugh. Roll call vote,
Can
please.
I speak to it for a quick second? The reason that I moved approval on both of those items, and I believe the architectural agreement in both of those is proper, and I appreciate staff's work on that.
Director Carl?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, that brings us to our last item, F8. Discussion item, Santa Rosa City Schools Suicide Prevention Policy. First reading.
President Close, board members, Superintendent Kitamura. I'm presenting to you the first reading of a mandatory suicide prevention policy that was put into law in July of 2017. Education Code 2015 was amended for an assembly bill which required schools with grades 7 through 12 to adopt a policy on suicide prevention. We previously did not have one specific on suicide prevention. A committee was put together in order to review these guidelines and samples. I want to commend the people in the committee. It was a wonderful cross-section of support providers and people that work in the mental health field, school counselors, school nurses, program managers, CAPE, which is from the County Office of Education, school psychologists, and an outside vendor that works for non-public schools. The policy itself has about 7 provisions which talk about everything from staff development, instruction to students, methods for promoting positive climate, information to parents, encouraging students how to notify school personnel, crisis interventions and counseling programs, and what's called post-vention after an incident. The policy is going to cover so those are the elements of the policy. In addition to the policy, a guide will be developed that go into far more detail of how and those operate more like the regulations. The guide will cover these areas of prevention. It'll focus on the interventions, assessment, and referrals process. We are working on the guide right now. We're taking a break for a winter vacation. We will come back at the January 24th meeting when we do our second reading to the policy, and we hope to have our first edition of the draft at that time. Thank you. If there's any questions. This is not an action item, no.
Right. Questions? Okay. Thank you very much for your hard work on this and taking such a close look on this with your team. And we'll see it back.
Yes, you will. Thank you.
What? Yes,
Not
go
on this
ahead.
item, if you're done with it. Done with-
I
I
am
think that
done.
was the last item,
Yes.
wasn't it?
So I wanted to get feedback from the board. If you notice this packet, we have changed it in that we have headings with purpose, consideration, board policy, education code, previous board policy, or previous history. We have hyperlinked the board, past board meetings as well as the education code. Considerations, the reason we put that in there is that if, for example, we looked at multiple entities before we made a decision, I wanted it clear, and my conversation with President Close too about this, clear that what did we consider prior to making this decision to bring it forward to you. The other thing is what consultations did we have? Who did we have involved in the decisions? So that's what we'd have under consideration if it was appropriate to the item. So just want to know, get some feedback if this is something that works for you, or is there additional adjustments we can make to make the board reports better? No, it's fine. Okay, all right, okay.
I appreciate making those changes. But
I appreciate the
that's
staff.
helpful.
The staff were going to probably kill me, but I appreciate them hanging in, because it's good. I think it's much clearer. Yeah, okay.
Well, it's good for the public to see that too.
Okay, thank you.
Answers a lot of questions. All right, thank you. So we'll adjourn. Happy holidays.
But how the annexation improved my life?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Another great benefit of the annexation of Roseland is infrastructure repair and replacement. This means roads, storm drains, sewers, and more will become the city's responsibility and will be upgraded to city standards. Also, residents now